Hello, everyone, and thank you again for tuning into my About My Father's Business Thursdays, where I like to highlight Christian businesses, variety of Christian businesses, because we all are doing work for God in different ways. And I always say we need all the help and support we can get. And so I created this segment in order to give Christian business a chance to share their services, their ministries, their books, and whatever they're doing. And the products with my platform, my predominantly Christian based platform. And so if you are interested in being on this platform as well and sharing your own business, just reach out to me. You can also go on my website. You will see a form there to fill out for which segment you want to do, or you can just reach out to me directly just to let you know in advance. I'm going to send you to that website for you to fill out the form, and then we can set up a time to talk and, see if what you have is a good fit for the show and get it recorded. And so again, just reach out to me for that. I also have my testimony Tuesdays that I do. If you don't have a business you want to share, but you just have a powerful testimony you want to share, we can also do that on Tuesdays at 12 p.m. And so again, that website, you fill out the form, I'll reach out to you, and then we'll go through all the steps to get it recorded and share your testimony or even your Christian business with as many people as we can on my platform. Just a few weeks ago, once again, I want to mention that I did reach 1,000 followers, and I'm very proud about that. I haven't even been doing this a year yet, and so I'm really excited to know that not only my work is paying off, so to speak, but positive messages are kind of being put out there to help people understand that God is with them through all different facets of life. So I've done shows about, adultery, finding God in grief, parenting, fatherless homes. I mean, you name it. I've kind of done a show about it, and it's all just to help people to see that God is bigger than their boxes. And so before we get into the My Father's Business for today, we have a very special guest. And so I've done a few businesses so far, and a lot of them are coaching. And then, I did a very talented young lady last week or so. She was a music coach. And so I do have another coach today. As you guys know, I'm also a certified life and relationship coach. But this coach is talking about something very different that I haven't heard from any other coaches before. She's talking about brain health, and she's trying to educate people on brain health. And so I will go ahead and bring her out, and she can tell you what she does and how she got into this field. So her name is Berniece Hunt. And so thank you, Bernice, for again filling out that form that I was talking about. And then I reached out and we set everything up. And now you're here today to talk about your business. I really appreciate you doing that, because I do consider it a privilege to be able to help Christian businesses. In my mind, I'm doing God's work as well by giving Christian business a platform to share what they do. And so can you let everybody know who you are and what you do? And then we'll get into the nitty gritty of how you got there.
Yes. Thank you, Sage. And first of all, let me congratulate you for your 1,000 followers, subscribers. That is wonderful. That's no small task. And so I congratulate you. And I think that this is a marvelous platform that you have regarding, Christians and their businesses and their testimony. So I just want to say that before I get started. But hey,
yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
And my name is Berniece Hunt, and I am a brain health specialist. I am also a certified wellness coach, which is how I got into brain health, becoming first a certified wellness coach. And my story, how God just orders our steps. And it was just very obvious to me how he's ordering my steps. I became a brain health specialist originally after my mom had gone through a chronic illness. And the result of that just threw me into preventive measures, because I remember her telling me one day, she says, Nisi, I brought this on myself, because she decided that she would depend completely on the medications that the doctors gave her, and any suggestion to do any lifestyle changes regarding what she ate or exercise or any of that. She's like, no, thank you. I'll just rely on the medications. And the medications worked for a while, and then the medications stopped working. And then the doctors were kind of threw up their hands. They didn't know what to do, And so she said, I brought this on myself. And that got me into the health, realm right from that. And I became a certified wellness coach, but it wasn't actually until my husband experienced what he went through that really got me into the brain health aspect. And that was like 3 or 4 years ago. what happened was, well, he had been on dialysis.
Well, hold on just for a second.
Oh,
So
go ahead.
no, it's fine. I want you to go into the story. It's a very, very great, inspiring story, and I'm excited for you to tell it. But one thing that I wanted to just kind of interject in here for a minute is, like, when you talked about, first of all, wellness is a very important thing. And I think with the pandemic, people are paying more attention to wellness now than they probably did before. So it's definitely needed for this time. A lot of people are seeking this kind of information out. I had a lady on a few weeks ago who also has some medical issues, and she ran out of solutions with the doctors, and she had to, but she was a nurse. I forgot exactly what type of nurse she was, but she ended up started doing research and stuff of her own, and kind of came up with her own plans and remedies to kind of combat some things she was going through. So I totally understand and get what you're saying about your mom. Just depending on the medication, it only goes so far. But one thing that I want to say really quickly before you get into the story about your husband and how you got into the whole brain part of wellness is the magnificence of our brains. Like, I'm in the process of revising my book, and the part that I'm on, I'm talking a little bit about the brain and how it works. And it's always fascinating to me how human beings, especially with sci-fi and stuff, we get so excited about the possibility of AI. But the miracle is us, like, already. Like, AI has nothing on what God has created in us. And it's really, really magnificent. Like, our brains are like super, super quadruple computers, all wrapped up in emotions and flesh and will. And I mean, it's really just amazing. And so I'm really interested in what you're saying just for that reason. But I just want to throw that out there that, it's magnificent. The human mind is a magnificent thing. So now, if you want to go into the story about your husband, because this is really, because it takes sometimes these experiences to highlight some certain things. So it's like what you're saying about your mom and then your husband. It brings stuff again to the forefront of your mind, because a lot of times we don't really think about this stuff. And so if you want to go ahead now and tell the story about your husband and how you were in wellness, but then got into the brain health, how that got all triggered.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I was already into wellness and all of that, but my husband contracted sepsis. One day I came home from church. I came home, from church, and he had not gone to church, which was unusual in itself because he wasn't feeling well, which was unusual in itself. And so when I came back from church, he was delirious, and he had his hand up to his face, and he was punching like this. And I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm trying to dial Elder Jake, but he's not answering." And I'm like,
"Oh,
there was
wow."
I said,
wow.
So I took his hand, and when I took his hand, he was burning up. And I was like, "Okay, what?" I said, "If you had anything to drink," and I went and got him some water, because he was on fire, and he was just delirious. He started talking gibberish. And I couldn't understand. And then when he would get upset because I wasn't understanding what he was saying, but he would, out of his mouth came gibberish. So of course I called 911. And I told them they thought he had been on drugs or something. And they said, "Well, what do you want us to do?" And I go, "You need to come and tell me which one of us is crazy. Either he's crazy or I'm crazy, because I'm not understanding a word he's saying."
Wow.
So somebody is losing it. I think it's him, but you need to come and confirm. Somebody in this room.
Did you originally think that maybe it was possibly a stroke? Because that's like the first thing that comes to my mind. Did you think that?
No, because he was ambulatory and stuff. He was just talking crazy and burning up. And so because he had been sick, so I thought maybe the fever had just overcome him or something.
Okay.
So they came, and so they took him to ER anyway. So they did a lot of tests. They found out that he actually had sepsis, and it had gotten into his brain as well as his kidneys. His kidneys shut down.
Oh, wow.
50%, and it got in his brain. So he ended up being in ICU for, a couple of weeks. But during that time, I got to experience a glimpse of what people that are dealing with people with Alzheimer's, dementia go through on a daily basis. So seeing someone that is able-bodied, and because he was in ICU for a while, but he got better, but he's still in the hospital. But anyway, he had all of his physical faculty, so if he didn't want to do something, you're gonna have to hold him down. You're gonna have to hold. It's gonna take more than just one person to hold him down. He was trying to leave one night, get out the bed. He was tired of being in the hospital, and dealing with that and dealing with the emotional, because he's my husband. He's used to telling me what's going to happen.
Right. Right.
And all of a
Wow.
sudden I wasn't doing what he wanted me to do, kind of thing.
Mm.
It was all that drama going on. Then plus just the fact that he was delirious. But one thing that just tells you the God that's in us. One night when we were I'd be in the hospital praying over him and stuff. And so he heard me praying. And so he took over the prayer and he started praying himself. And then he said, okay, Elder Jake, you close it out. After I finish, you close it out. And we'll be done. And it was just, I was talking to God about him. I said, God, look at your servant. Even in this state that he's in, his focus is his desire, is to communicate with you and to talk to you. And I said, and so I was talking to God about that, not to take him because he had so much left to do. And I said, he's going to serve you. He's going to speak on your behalf. And,
Right.
and so if you get him through this, it won't be in vain because he's going to do,
Yeah.
even more than he had done before because of the miracle that you're about to work in his life, And so it got to the point where he got out of ICU. He was still just in the regular, wings of the hospital. And the doctors came around his bed a couple of days before he left to ask him to pray for them because they weren't expecting it to go the way it went.
Wow.
They had told us that he was on dialysis for 2 days in the hospital. They told us that he'd probably be in dialysis the rest of his life. His kidneys were failing, and they expected them to continue to fail. And it turned around to where they were saying the next day all of his scores were going up exponentially. They said not just raising up a little bit, jumping, leaping up to where his kidney doctor was the only one that was kind of leery, but the other doctor was like, no, we could still keep him on dialysis. He's like, no, there's no reason to. Look at his number. They all outvoted him and took him off, and they had said he's supposed to be on insulin the rest of his life. He was only on insulin when he was in the hospital. When he got out the hospital, he has not been on insulin since.
Oh my
goodness. 3 years ago, or on diabetes medication, because he hadn't been on diabetes medication before because we had dealt with that before. But God is just so good. And anyway, with all of that really, was a mind-blowing moment for me when I realized the suffering that's occurring on both ends of this dementia thing, on the person that has the broken brain. I call it broken brain. The person that has a broken brain, and the fear and the anxiety and the anger and the frustration that they're going through. I watched my husband go through that when I kept asking him what he was saying, and he kept on trying to tell me it wasn't making any sense. So he was getting mad. And I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to say,
Wow.
And then from my end, having to deal with that physically and also emotionally and mentally and all of that, it's a big strain. And so I started really looking into brain health specifically.
Okay.
I started getting into everything, and I found such wonderful things in it. The more I found, just like you in your book and your research with the brain and stuff, the more I find, the more hope, and the more excited and the more passionate I get. And that's like God has designed our brains, and He's designed our whole bodies, but our brains are wonderful things. And one thing they used to think that our brains, we couldn't get any new brain cells, that we had what we had, and that's what we had. But they found out, like in 1990s, they found that that's not true. That our brain, just like all the other cells in our body, our brain cells, continue to grow. They just grow slower.
Okay.
But they do continue to grow, and there's things that you can do to nourish them and all of that. And the more I found, the more I studied it, the more hope I got, because people of color at the top of the list for everything. Alzheimer's is no different.
Well, let me ask you really quickly, how did your husband get sepsis? Was it just from the sickness that he had, or like what was the reason?
Okay, they don't know, but one theory, because he was having a procedure done for his prostate. They put a camera to check some things with his prostate a few days before. And that next day, because you know how men are, they don't tell you, they don't want to admit that
Tell
they're
you
not
that
feeling well or whatever,
yeah.
So he went to work, but he said in retrospect, he said he was feeling horrible. He would have chills and stuff all day at work, but he didn't say anything. And that was like a Friday. So Saturday he wasn't feeling. So by Sunday, he was feeling bad enough to where he said he wasn't going to church. And I knew he had to be sick. He wasn't going to church, but he didn't have a fever. Well, I didn't really feel his head or whatever, but he didn't appear to have a fever at that point. But when we went back and they said they didn't know how it happened, but we went back to doctor, his doctor said in 1 out of 10,000 cases or something like that, if the equipment is not sterile,
oh my goodness,
that could give him an infection, and if the infection is not treated, and go to. They told us in the ER that in his case it started because it was his kidneys and stuff that was involved, and I think it went from there and then it went up. And they were saying that if he were younger, it probably wouldn't have gone into his brain, but in older people, for some reason, it more easily breaks the blood-brain barrier and gets into their brain.
Wow.
So that's why it got into his brain, but they won't confirm
admit that. Of course. That's
the reason.
That's a loss.
It's a pretty big coincidence that happened Friday, and by Sunday he was, feverish and with sepsis and put in the hospital.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Wow. So when you go to the doctor, you guys, if you're having a procedure, say clean that equipment.
3 times. Let me see you clean.
Yeah. I mean, I think we do. We probably just take for granted that it's clean. We kind of trust them. That's their field, but people are people. But wow, that's amazing. I mean, not to sound grim or anything, but that could have killed him. So can you imagine just a procedure leading to like your death like that? Like, wow, that's crazy. So anyway, back to your business. And I agree with you about, like, I can imagine what you're saying about it being on both sides of the spectrum when it comes to like dementia and things like that. My grandfather has Alzheimer's right now, and it's really been very shocking to see what it does to a person, and it's very sad. And it takes a toll, I'm sure, like on my grandmother, who is, his wife, and he still lives in the house. He's not in a nursing home or anything. And I've seen, not up close, like I don't live in a house with him, but before that, I just heard about Alzheimer's. You might see it on TV and stuff like that, but this was my first time seeing it up close. And it's really devastating. Like, it's really devastating on the person, the people around. You really have to, like what you're saying, he would try to leave the house, but he would forget where he was going when he was outside. So they would try to keep him in the house. And, so I understand in a different way now from what you're saying than I probably would have understood that, before all this happened. So I can appreciate that. And so now you go through this experience. First, you have your mom when she had her issues, and then you have your husband. You were already in wellness, and it's like, you know what, I want to know more about the brain. And so you start researching and things like that. So how did you come up with this program? So how do we get from these experiences to researching to now you having a program within your wellness business specifically about the brain?
Yes. So good question. So what happened was, in my research and in all my studies and classes that I took and coursework that I took, found out that since there's no effective medical treatment, but there is a lot of studies that have shown that progress is made when you tweak your lifestyle, and also in terms on both ends, from preventing it to delaying it to improving. They don't. It's not a remedy. It's going to restore everything back.
Right.
But it will make your brain better. The better lifestyle that you have, the better your brain is going to be. And there's so many issues. That if you have diabetes, your chance of getting Alzheimer's, dementia is doubled.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
If you have a concussion, and how many, sports people do we have, and children playing sports and whatever, to get concussions. If you have a concussion, your risk for Alzheimer's doubles.
Oh, wow.
If you're have depression, and during this COVID thing, there's all these people having depression issues and all this kind of stuff. If you go into depression, your chances and risk for getting Alzheimer's doubles in women, and it quadruples if you're a man and you get into depression.
Wow.
So your
Now, is
brain
this for like when you're younger and you have depression, or as you get older,
any
or any time in your life?
anytime,
Oh,
because
wow.
your brain, they said when you're in your late 20s, around 26, 28 years old, your brain starts aging. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, our body ages. We can't keep
Yeah,
our
yeah,
body from aging. So we're going to
yeah.
age. But the thing is that we need to learn what to do to um, regenerate our brain cells and
Mm,
also to nourish them. It's just like you're putting seeds in the ground. I mean, we birth new brain cells all the time.
mm-hmm.
But if you don't nourish them, just like a seed, if you don't give it any water and any nourishment, it's going to die. Our brain
Yeah.
cells will die and they won't be able to make the connections they need to make, so they'll be useful if you don't nurture them and nourish them with the nutrients and things they need, and also with the exercises and things they need. And that's your lifestyle. And
Yeah.
they found that people, and when they do their studies, they find that people that have stayed, and so I have the what I call the what your brain needs, and it's an acronym for what it needs, the 5 things. It needs nutrition, it needs exercise, it needs engagement, it needs de-stressing, and it needs sleep. Those are the 5
Mm.
areas of your life that you have to address if you want to keep your brain sharp and you want to keep your brain intact and you don't want to see that decline in memory loss and all those other things that happen. And they find that the people that do those things, even though when they opened up their brain, they did the autopsy when they died, even when they opened their brain looked very similar to someone that may not have done those things, but their behavior in life was totally different because they had developed all these new pathways. So
Oh, wow.
even though their brain was aging, just like the other person's brain was aging, they had so many other ways to go. It's like if
Mm-hmm.
you're driving in a car and you only know one way to get to the store, and if they
Yeah.
block that way to get to the store, then you stuck. You ain't got no way to get to the store. But if you know a 2 or 3 other ways to get to the store, you know,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
may take you a little while longer to get there, but you're gonna get to the store. That's the same thing with your brain. If you have
Right.
other connections, and you get those connections by doing those 5 things. And so once
Wow.
I got a hold of that, and also the other wonderful thing is if you take care of your brain, the rest of your body automatically
Benefits. Yeah.
benefits from it. Correct. And so Sid working on your bodybuilding. I mean, not, or how you look or whatever, getting the Botox thing going or whatever you're gonna do,
Yeah.
you need to
Yeah.
concentrate on your brain, and everything else is gonna fall into place.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so that's
Wow.
exciting.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Like even what you were saying about this whole, in the medical field, this idea of use it or lose it. So when you don't use, like for example, my daughter last month or so, it's probably been a couple months now, but she broke her ankle and
Mm,
she had to wear a medical boot. And a relative said, well, once she takes that medical boot off, her leg is going to look skinnier than the other leg. And of course, I didn't want that to happen, but I'm like, well, why would that happen so quickly? And it's the
mhm,
same thing. If you're
mhm,
not using something, any part of your
mhm,
body,
mhm,
it
mhm,
starts to wither. And so it
mhm,
makes perfect sense to me. We don't typically think about that when it comes to the brain. But of course, the more you use it, the more it's going to grow. Like you
exactly.
said, create different pathways and things like that. So it totally makes sense to me. So, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so it's just exciting. And so I'm just really excited to be able to, I just want to get that message out to as many people as possible, because unfortunately, a lot of us think of retirement or whatever. I'm just going to kick back and relax. I
Yeah.
done worked hard all my life. I'm not out to do nothing. You can't teach me nothing. You can't ask me to do nothing. I'm through. I'm just
Yeah.
going to relax. And that's the wrong attitude to take,
Mm,
because
mm.
you are aging yourself prematurely that way.
Oh, wow. You need
You
to
hear
stay
people start
active.
talking about all the aches and pains they're having and all the problems they're having. Well, you're not continuing to exercise and engage yourself like you did when you was working. You
Yeah.
were up and about and
Wow.
running around and taking care of this and solving these problems and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden you stop. The thing, like you said, it starts withering away. And so
Yeah.
people need
Wow.
to know.
So, with your coaching program, can you tell us a little your wellness coaching program? So,
Mhm.
how long is it? What kind of stuff? I'm sure you probably go into those 5 things that you were talking about a little bit more.
Mhm.
And you kind of how much does it cost? Things like that. Tell us a little bit about the program.
Well, I have her free and a paid for courses. I have my master classes, which are free, and um, they're 2-day sessions, 1 hour each day. And I go over, like you say, I go over the 5 areas that the brain needs. And we talk about, and we let you assess yourself, hopefully honestly. Nobody's going to be looking at your paper, but just try to be honest and assess yourself where you are regarding your nutrition. I asked like 10 questions about nutrition, exercise, engagement, de-stressing, and sleep, and assess where you are. And then you kind of know, because most people, I mean, we have heard about things and most people try to make an attempt at something, but the thing is, there's no one thing, there's no magic bullet for brain health. You have to do all those things. You might be eating all the right foods, but if you're not exercising, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a problem. If you're not sleeping adequately, you're going to have a problem. If you're not stimulating yourself, you're going to have a problem. You have to do a combination of things. And it's just a matter for a lot of us of just tweaking little areas in our life, just making that decision to make sure we're aware of all those components of our life. So I take you through that with my free course and talk you through that. And then if you choose to, you can enroll in the Keep Your Brain Sharp program, which is a 10-week course. And we meet every week, and I have a lesson every week, and we spend 2 weeks on each of those 5 points.
Okay, wow.
And so we thoroughly go through nutrition, and we have how-to demos and recipes and question and answer sessions and all of those things. And it's the presentation is recorded so that you can go back and listen to it again or whatever. And so we slowly walk you through and tweak the areas of your life. We have accountability, trying to see if you follow through on what you're supposed to be doing. So we spend 10 weeks taking you through all of that so that you can actually change your lifestyle if you choose to. And I'm not right now introductory. I'm starting this in April. An introductory price in April is only $97 for the whole 10 weeks.
10 weeks. Oh, wow. That's
wonderful.
Wow,
that price will be, that's going to be going up later. But right now, I really want to just get it out there. And so hopefully people will take advantage of it and tell other people about it, whatever. So right now, for especially the April session is definitely going to be $97. I don't know about, I'm going to start a new one every month. I don't know how long I'm going to hang on with that, but because I have to, I got to take care of me. But I wanted to encourage people to jump in and to do something with that, because I had one lady that, because I do videos, I have a YouTube channel and Facebook, whatever, and she listened to one of my videos that I put out and was on sleep. And she took one of my tips for sleep and she texted me. She said, "Oh, Berniece," she said, "I did what you said and I just can't believe how much better I'm feeling during the day." It's just a little tip or something. So that's what that's about.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I feel like the information is kind of invaluable. Not only with the experience that I have with my grandfather, but even my mother, as she's getting older, she's noticing that she's forgetting stuff and stuff like that. And she's always making comments like, "I can't remember this," or what they say, I forget my head if it wasn't attached to my shoulders. And so it's definitely something like, a lot of times, especially in today's society, we get so caught up in immediate gratification. But when you put in the work and you take stuff one day at a time, it pays off much more later. And this sounds like one of those things that you just need to take the time, think about it, invest a little, like you said, a little change into it, and it's going to pay off so much more later, because you can't really deny the importance of your brain. You can't really deny that. And if you're doing everything else, especially for people, I know so much vegans and keto, I mean, so much other stuff people are trying to do to take care of their health. Why not put some focus on your brain as well? Like, you can't see it. It's not a muscle, you can actually see it getting bigger, but to take care of your brain, I don't know too many people that can really argue with that. Well, I hope they wouldn't argue with it anyway. So, but wow, it sounds really good. And I'm actually going to tell my mom about your program. She's probably really interested in taking it as well. And so you did talk about a masterclass, and we talked before we started recording. You have one coming up soon, so you can let everybody know, where they can sign up for it and stuff like that. Just the information about the masterclass.
Right. If you go to my website, keepyourbrainsharp.com, I have a cover page there, and it says, click here for the free masterclass or something. You just click on there, and I have 2 options, either Tuesday, Thursday group or a Wednesday, Friday group, and I have different times. So whichever fits into your schedule, you just click on there and it'll sign you up and it'll send you the information. It's going to be a Zoom class for those sessions that you can sign up on. So that's how you do that. So just go to the website and click on. I love to see you and your mom and anyone else that cares to take it to attend.
Yeah, so I mean, even I was thinking like, you know, you can say this is for older people, but I feel like even you know, younger people could take advantage of it as well. So
exactly,
thank you so.
The earlier you start, the better. You don't want to wait until you start noticing some problems.
Yeah.
Because if you start noticing the problem, that means your brain is being damaged anyway, but it's just like asymptomatic, just like you have asymptomatic COVID. You still have COVID, you just don't have no symptoms. So you can still have your brain is aging, but you don't have symptoms. But when the symptoms start showing up, that is a definite warning sign that you definitely need to do something. But in the best world, you don't never have any symptoms show up, you know? Because you're taking care of it.
Yeah. Wow. So thank you so much for, you know, sharing your business here. I think this is really invaluable information. And I really like to show people that, you know, God is using people in all different kinds of fields. It's not just in ministry, and it's not just, you know, help with, I guess you can say, life trauma and things like that, but even the body and the mind, like that stuff is important too. And God has people working in all different types of areas. So thank you so much for sharing that. I will share it with as many people as I believe could benefit from it. And I think that's it. So did you have any last things you wanted to say before we sign off here today?
Nope, that's it. I really appreciate the opportunity. I really appreciate you creating this platform for people to share. I think it's wonderful that what you're doing as well. I like to say, you know, everyone stay in their lane, you know, find your lane, stay in it, you know, and you'll see God will make his gift will make your gift will make room for you. You know?
Amen. All right. Well, thank you so much, Berniece. You guys check out her website. It's below. You can go on there and find out more about the masterclass that she has coming up. Make sure you share her information with anybody you think might need this, because it is definitely needed. Like, I mean, it's needed. So thank you again, Berniece. You guys, thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to tune in next Tuesday or Thursday for my Testimony Tuesday and my Father's Business Thursdays. And be sure to share and like my page. So thank you so much, you guys. You have a good day. Bye.
Amen.